My name's Josh Creamer. I'm 27 years old. I grew up in Mount Isa. Mount Isa is my home, and I lived in Mount Isa till the age of about 13. And now I'm down here living on the Gold Coast and working in Brisbane and practicing in law. You know, I've been very fortunate. I had a strong mother, I think. She made sacrifices for us to go get a good education at high school. All my brothers and sisters went to a Catholic school. My mother had absolutely no money and we had no food, but we actually got a good education. I think that helped us, that helped us along. And education contributes in so many ways. Through an education you can start challenging the system, I suppose. You have a broader awareness of what's going on, and you don't. A law degree is good because you never accept what's told to you. You always question everything you're told, and you do your own investigation, you do your own research, and you form your own opinion. I am passionate about the law. It's an interesting area, but law and Indigenous Australians, Indigenous rights issues, that's predominantly my two major passions. Lawyers have interests outside of just strictly law. You take an issue of what's going on in the world, you take what's going on in business, those type of things, because it all contributes to making you a more knowledgeable person, which you never know might benefit you again at some stage. I grew up with my mum, my stepdad, and I had my other sister. She's 25, so we're only a few years apart. And then my other brother, he's 22, Matthew. When I was at the age of 14, 12 or 13, my stepdad and mother had separated and then eventually divorced. And also too, my mother wasn't in such a good state after going through a divorce. I think it takes a toll on any person. And so I felt like at the age of 13 or 14, I knew what it was like to go through a divorce, and I knew what it was like to take responsibility in raising your siblings. Change for me, and right from the start when I was involved with the OXFAM International Youth Parliament, I realised that at the time we had to submit an action plan and what we wanted to do to promote our social justice. And my plan was about improving Indigenous Australians' awareness of the law, their legal rights and those type of things. And I've always realised that it would be a long-term plan. I mean, my plan's probably become broader now, but in terms of social justice for me and what I'm achieving and what I'm going to achieve, it's a long-term strategy. There are things on a smaller scale, like making contact with schools. I've had the opportunity of speaking with school children and just working with individuals and groups and trying to say, hey, look, if I can get there, you guys can get there too. Look, there's so many issues that are affecting Indigenous people. When you think about the over-representation, the land issues and those type of things, but I would just like Indigenous people to be able to get to an extent where they have the same opportunities as the wider community, where they're not only the two options of jail and suicide or surviving. There are three options, I suppose. Where a chance at a good education, a chance at employment, and having a strong family. I've grown up with a lot of kids who've committed suicide and family and those type of things. And I don't know, it's weird. You just never take for granted what you got, but you always appreciate what you have compared to a lot of others. And then if you've got that type of focus and you've got that type of mindset, then I think, and a positive mindset too, because no matter how tough times got, you always think, oh well, I can get through it. I've been through stuff before, it's tested me. It's the really difficult or the really tough times where you learn most about yourself, because you're forced to reflect and you're forced to make changes. And when you actually go through that process, when you look at yourself and the situation you're in and saying, oh well, do I want to grow up being an angry guy and getting myself into trouble or those type of things, or what type of person do I want to be? You want to be a role model for your family, for your brothers and sisters. So it's just, it's a mindset, but at the same time, I understand completely for people who go through that same situation and maybe opposite to myself, end up incarcerated or suicide or those type of things, because I know how difficult it can be dealing with like the pain or dealing with the issues. You know, when you test yourself, and you know, even if you might, I don't know, it's not fair, but you know, even if you might not get to the point where you want to, it's so long as you learn a bit about yourself along the way, it's all positive. You know, no matter how negative a situation is, or if you can learn from it, then you can turn it into a positive.